Miss Dua, as an educationist, she has been working into field of education in the different areas of education. And from last few years, she's associated with the cyber and security working as a cyber and security coach, and in working in the different areas of cyber safety in schools and colleges. She's promoting this and working and doing a lot of awareness conferences and also doing the webinars. She's also associated with the Cyber Peace Foundation as a principal consultant, and she's also developing a lot of learning material for cyber safety for NCERT and CBSE. So over to Ms. Nisha.
Thank you so much for inviting me as a speaker, Ms. Veena.
Thank you, ma'am.
So I am Nisha Dua. I'm a cyber safety and wellness coach, and I'm also associated with Cyber Peace Foundation as a consultant. As an educationist for over 2 decades, I have been supporting technology enhanced learning, having managed the Intel education initiatives for many years. Technology has a huge scope for creating engaged learning solutions, especially powered by internet. And coming to internet, it offers many possibilities and many opportunities, and lot of learning solutions also to all kinds of learners. But the misuse of internet also gives us many risks and challenges, especially for our young learners. So let's go ahead with the session today, keeping children safe online. And I hope my session will help create a roadmap for the schools for cyber safety. Just sharing with you the format of the session. I will of course have I will share the information and tips, etc. with you. In order to keep in order to keep it interactive, there would be questions, there would be polls. We also want your opinion. We also want ideas from you, so that we can share it with everybody. It's a large group and everybody can benefit from it. So at the end, I hope everybody goes back enriched from this session. So keeping children safe online, it is a critical issue, and it's an issue which has to be addressed immediately because it impacts the learning of the child. So can we start with the presentation, please?
So in this session, Ms. Navinder is helping Ms. Dua in sharing, and she's becoming a co-host with Ms. Dua, and she'll be supporting her. Yeah. Over to Navinder. Yeah.
Thank you, Navinder ma'am. So we will run the presentation now and go on to slide number 2. We are surrounded by gadgets. Everybody will agree with me? Okay. एक तरफ लैपटॉप है, एक तरफ फोन है, कहीं किंडल पे कुछ पढ़ रहे हैं, कहीं फिटबिट चार्ज हो रहा है, और टीवी तो है ही है. So our life, all the time we are charging something or the other. We are looking for sockets, and you know, there is always something which needs to be looked into as far as technology is concerned. So we are surrounded by all kind of gadgets, and these gadgets are so easy to use that the world is at the fingertips. पुराने जमाने में कहते थे ना कि दुनिया हमारी मुट्ठी में है. अब दुनिया हमको मुट्ठी की जरूरत ही नहीं है. अब दुनिया हमारी फिंगर टिप्स पे है. अब हम देखते हैं इस डिजिटल दुनिया में हम करते क्या-क्या है. So I think everybody is involved in all these kind of activities in some way or the other. Education is foremost because you are the teachers. Information is the next one, and networking, connecting, collaborating, virtual classrooms. So much we can do on the internet, and of course the games, the entertainment, the social media, the chatting part of it. There is a plethora of things to do on the internet which offer us lots and lots and lots of opportunities. Okay, so I have a question for you all, if you would like to answer that. Considering that a lot of our time is spent online, considering that a lot of our activities are done online, are we living in real world, that is the physical world, or are we living in the digital world? So I look forward to answers from all of you. In your chat box, answer R, press R for real world and press D for digital world. We will wait for your replies and then proceed ahead. Okay, it's very heartening to see one reply after the other coming in so fast. Okay, great, great. We've got the replies. So I have got a lot of these and a few of ours. So what does that mean? About 60% of these and about 40% of ours. So some people think it's a digital world, some people think it's a real world. Actually, both are right. It is actually a hybrid world of digital and real. There are we are actually doing digital transactions sitting in the real world. We are chatting with our friends through digital media sitting in the real world. So we are actually living in a hybrid world which is digital and real. Okay, so this brings me to another question. Okay, since we spend so much of time on the internet, there is a real world, there's a digital world. You all agreed with me. How much time do you think an average adult spends time on the computer? Think of 24 hours, okay, 8 hours of sleep, and then rest of the hours. How much time you think you spend on the computers? Whether it is connected to internet, whether it is laptop, whether it is smartphone, whether it is Kindle or whatever it may be. Okay. Very varied and interesting answers. Okay, I'll give it a couple of 10 seconds or so more. Fine. I have got very interesting answers from as low as 2 hours to as high as 18 hours. Actually, I would like to ask the person who posted 18 hours, भैया आप करते क्या हो? आप सोते कब हो? आप पढ़ाते कब हो? आप फैमिली कब देखते हो? So these are actually very interesting replies that we have. Now to give you the real fact, it's a global study. Adults spend 4 to 5 hours connected online. Okay, but the scenario today is different. I'll come to that. I'm talking of 2 months before scenario, right? And teens, that is age 13 and above, they spend 6 to 8 hours, and tweens 8 to 12 years of age spend 4 to 6 hours. So let's start with tweens. An 8-year-old child, a 10-year-old child who should be running around, who needs the physical activities. I mean, spending 4 to 6 hours, and the report says this is outside of the school assignments. This is just, binging on videos or chatting or games or whatever. So the situation is actually quite alarming. A teen spends 6 to 8 hours. When does he or she get to play? When does he or she get to do family interactions, family bonding, play with friends, go to the Nukkad, get an ice cream? So where has all that gone? So today we will focus not only on what the children should do online, it's also how much. It's also the screen time of the children which matters a lot. So going ahead, let's see, when they spend 6 to 8 hours or 4 to 6 hours, what do they do online? वो करते क्या है अच्छी 8 घंटे में बच्चे ऑनलाइन? भाई ये तो पता करना चाहिए. What happens? Parents think that my child is tech savvy and my child is very smart. Of course, every parent thinks that their child is very smart and should think like that. Okay, our kids are tech savvy, but do the kids have the critical ability to analyze or respond to some disturbing situations? So the parents always have to look over the kid's shoulder to see what they are doing. Now coming to social apps and sites mostly frequented by kids, texting, Facebook, WhatsApp most common, Yani Baba, GroupMe, Kick Messenger. Okay, the last two are not used so much in India, but yes, we do a lot of texting on Facebook. We do a lots of texting on WhatsApp. Then you have the microblogging sites, Twitter. A lot of children may not be on Twitter, more are on Facebook. But then Twitter is gaining popularity amongst the senior children a lot. Then photo and video sharing apps inside, all-time favorite of the kids. they binge on and they love to be on these video sharing apps, Instagram and TikTok. And when the kids are on Instagram and when the kids are on TikTok, then parents are always worried. Especially, you know, when you think of the TikTok challenges, I hope they don't do any bodily, any physical harm to themselves. Then a lot of parents may not know of other self-destructing secret apps, Whisper, which gets dissolved in some time. Aapne post kara, wo story, after some time, it gets disintegrated. Snapchat, yes, it is quite used in India. Then for the senior students, there are chatting, meeting, and dating apps and sites. And if somebody tells me that India may, the senior students, maybe above 9, they don't use dating apps, then I'll be surprised. Because dating apps are getting very, very common in India, especially from the classes 9 and 10. So the parents have to be aware of these dating apps like Tinder, Meet Me, Yubo, etc. So this is the children's online dashboard. There are much more, but these are most commonly used. Okay, so when I said 4 to 6 hours, or when I for the adults, or 6 to 8 hours usage of internet as far as kids were concerned, 2 slides back, that was before COVID era. Now we are in the COVID era, in the lockdown era. So COVID pandemic has actually disrupted our lives. Everybody agrees with me? Totally disrupted our lives. Okay, so what happens is that I am locked at home with my kids. Then there is this, my family, the society, the services, the shopping and entertainment and everything. And what is that which has been connecting the families locked down at home with their loved one outside or with the services outside? It is technology. So the use of technology has spiked a lot during COVID-19 time. And it is not only that, you're sitting at home, you do have more time on your hands. I'm not talking of the ladies who have the children to look, who have to manage the kids, manage the house, manage the cooking, not so much because they're already overburdened. But a lot of people, especially men, have time because they're not commuting to the office. So, बैठ के क्या करना है? ब्राउज करना है, फेसबुक जाना है, ट्विटर पे कुछ ट्वीट करना है. So there has been 87% increase in social media usage in the lockdown time. I'm talking of all age groups, not only children. And the Indians tend to spend 4 hours additional on Facebook and WhatsApp every day. And 72% spike in the internet browsing. So now you imagine a scenario. There is a child, okay, who's browsing the internet or who's using the internet either for virtual learning or for some projects or gaming, because there is no school, so virtual learning. So no playground, so they tend to play game online, chahe wo cricket ho, chahe wo kuch ho, chahe wo PUBG ho, which is actually banned. And because of social distancing, they cannot meet their friends. So chatting is abundant online. Okay, so there is this child who's out of curiosity, out of time pass, is sitting over there. Okay, and then there are adults, online predators, who are looking for these, innocent children who become their victims. So the COVID time is actually very, very scary, when sometimes parents also let their children use technology more. They don't monitor as much as they would. Probably they also are harassed by so much of work at home and the office and the home and everything. So even amongst the children, there has been a huge spike in the online usage. And let's share with you the Indian story, the alarming data. So most online content on child sexual abuse, okay, child sexual abuse material, CSAM, is from India. It is very, very alarming and very, very shocking. We say that we are a value-based country. Okay, we have high morals. Or child sexual abuse material, pornographic material, हमारी country सबसे ज़्यादा produce भी कर रही है, consume भी कर रही है. When this report came out last month, it was a shock for everybody. And government is taking strict actions on that. And closures of school has led to higher levels of sexual abuse, especially amongst the women. The International Justice Mission, IJM, has advised parental vigilance against sexual predators and cyber stalkers who may lure the children to crimes through online and social media platforms. So this is a wake-up call that at this time, let's not be complacent. We have to, we cannot be complacent about the security and safety of our children at all. Now let's come to why, because there are so many risks online. So what are the risks on the internet? Okay, I don't want to alarm people with these risks, because I keep on saying that internet has a lot of potential and opportunities, but today we are talking about being safe on the internet and away from the abuse by following certain cautions. So privacy is very, very important. The children tend to share their private details. Okay, somebody talks to them nicely. Somebody with a fake profile may not be who he or she is, pretending to be a friend. Okay, says hello online, and then sweet talks to them, and the child thinks he or she is, the child actually believes in that fake profile and starts conversing with him. Then the relationship develops and the trust develops, then the personal details are shared, the photographs are shared, and then the blackmailing happens. The children, out of fear, out of humiliation, out of embarrassment, they may not tell their parents, they may not tell their teachers. But it is up to the parents and the teachers to be alert to the child's behavior, to be alert to the child's activities, to have open conversations and actually spot that something is wrong. So stranger danger is very, very scary online, where the children make friends with the online predators and fall prey to them. The other is, we don't realize the digital footprint. Whenever we create, we click something, we like something, we post something, we send an email, we are creating a footprint. We will talk about digital footprints later, because a lot of adults and children both don't understand that they are leaving a trail behind. And the personality and their personality is assumed based on what they have done, knowingly and unknowingly. Okay. Sexting, grooming, I want to come back to this online. I keep on coming back to these online predators, especially after the NECMEC report of India being the largest consumer and user of pornographic material. So these predators, they sweet talk and groom the child, and then they become friendly with the child, and then they collect pornographic material from them. They sell this pornographic material in the dark web. They make a lot of money, and what happens? The poor child's life is gone. He or she is so scared, because these predators go back and tell the children that if you want to get out, I'll kill your brother, I'll kill your sister, or I'll post your pictures publicly. So they are totally blackmailed. The other issue online, especially with young children, is cyberbullying. Cyberbullying is very, very scary. You may say that bullying has been there ever since. Yes, bullying has been there ever since. But because of the scalability on the internet, bullying has taken on different dimensions. It has really amplified. And it is not confined to the small physical space. Where agar kisi ki ladai hoti hai, there are two friends fighting, it's a verbal or a physical fight. So the fight is in that geographical area, and all those who are present can see that. But kya hota hai, that kind of fight is taken to online. And online, everybody has access to an online. And then, the victim, the perpetrator, the person who's bullying, may post objectionable, embarrassing, humiliating, even wrong stuff about the victim. And then, of course, it has a bad effect on the reputation, on the self-respect, on the self-confidence of the victim. So cyberbullying has taken on very scary dimensions, and we will talk more about that going ahead. So identity theft is another, when somebody steals the photograph and details of a person and posts. What happens? Sometimes children don't realize. And अच्छा किसी से झगड़ा हुआ तो उसका नाम का account create करके you post something to somebody, and और responsibility किसकी होगी? जिसका उन्होंने details लिए हैं. So they do things like this. They don't realize that these are illegal, these are unlawful, and they can put them into trouble for their whole life long. So these were some of the basic issues. And as we go ahead, we'll also talk of gaming addiction and other things. So I want to share a video with you right now. It is a video of a young girl, a 12-year-old innocent girl studying in Canada, in British Columbia. She was bullied, and then sextortion happened. Something like I told you, online predator, when they take their photograph, when they take the photographs and they start blaming, and they blackmail you that you pose in unobjectionable poses. If you don't do, then I will send these pictures somewhere else, and then your reputation will go for a 6. So she was actually under a lot of stress because she was being blackmailed. She was being cyberbullied, and sextortion was going on. She tried to work it out. She tried to handle it herself. But when the abuser, the predator, became more violent and became more demanding, she ended her life. Imagine a 12-year-old ended her life. Last year, there was a report of a 6.5-year-old boy in America. A 6.5-year-old boy who hung himself from the bathroom window because he was being racially abused. So the children don't tend to come and tell the parents. It is the parents, the educators, who have to keep a sharp eye on the activities of the children. So can we have the video played, please?
Yeah, Nisha, I'm just sharing.
Yeah, so she's Amanda Todd. And there have been so many Amanda Todds before and after that. So these are learnings for us.
I think so this video everybody can see.
No, currently the video is not visible. Okay, meanwhile, as you play the video, I'll go on to gaming addiction. The other thing which we have to see online is the video watching addiction and the gaming addiction. As I said, especially during COVID times, kids cannot go out and play. तो वो cricket खेलते हैं. क्रिकेट खेलना ठीक है, लूडो खेलते हैं तो वो भी बढ़िया है, खेलिए भाई लूडो, ये अच्छे गेम है. You're competing, it's a very positive competition amongst the children. But when they go on to those killing and avenging games, there the problem starts. One is those games are very, very violent, and they bring out a certain personality of the child which we don't want. Secondly, they are very addictive. Like a child is playing and then he has to go to the next level and the next level. तो वो एक ना लत लग जाती है. वो सोचते उठते, the child doesn't think of anything else but I have to beat that chap, I have to kill that chap, I have to go ahead of the car. And there are just some scary games like PUBG. I'm sure a lot of you must have heard of PUBG. It has been banned also in certain states. But we find that 13-year-old are playing PUBG. And nobody is actually controlling them. So we will go ahead, we'll see how the educators and parents can actually have parental control. And when you talk of the games, I'm sure you must be reminded of the Blue Whale game. And we're not sure whether the death of few children was directly related to Blue Whale, but it was very, very scary. It kind of, it took not only the life of some children, it mentally scarred a lot of children. So we have to be aware of what kind of games are being played, what our children are doing, what is the kind of trail or digital trail that they are leaving. Ma'am, is the video being played or should I go ahead?
Yeah, I'm just clicking on the video. Just give me 2 minutes.
Okay. So meanwhile, friends, gather your thoughts and start posting questions because we'll take question answers at the end of the session. So we would like to have as many questions as possible. So start writing your questions, please. I just want to say internet is not all about dangers. Internet is not all about risk. Like in your real life, when you go out of the house, Okay, unless you are following the rules, there are dangers everywhere, whether it is the road, whether it is the deserted street, whether it's the driving that you're doing. So there are all kinds of risks. Don't we take care of them? Don't we follow adequate precautions? Similarly, if we follow precautions ourselves, or if we actually guide our children, make it a habit for them to follow certain precautions. Internet is not a scary word. It is the way you deal with it. If we are going ahead and sharing our private details with strangers, would there be a problem? Like when I do sessions with the kids, I tell them that तुम्हें क्या friends की कमी है तुम्हारे पास? Would you like to share your details with a person walking down the road? No. Then why do you share your personal details with strangers online? Why do you post your pictures online? If you take, ठीक है सेल्फी का जमाना है, हर लोग पिक्चर लेना चाहते हैं, तो अगर आपने नई पिक्चर ली and your mom said कि इसको फ्रेम करेंगे and you say हाँ फ्रेम बाद करेंगे, पहले मैं इसको अपने स्कूल के नोटिस बोर्ड में डाल दूं, पहले कम्युनिटी सेंटर में डाल दूं, हम करते हैं ऐसा? हम नहीं करते. Then why is it that we are under compulsion to post our pictures to lakhs and lakhs of people we don't know? So whatever checks and balances you follow in your real life, the same checks and balances, or probably even more, you have to follow in your virtual life. I think the video is also ready. So can we play it?
I hope you can hear the voice also of the video.
Yeah, it's fine. Okay, very sad. Every time I see this video, I get goosebumps. And from the comments which have been actually coming in, I think a lot of people felt the same thing, and the concerns have increased. What a bright young life cut short, and what to say of the parents who would be like totally shattered. And there have been so many Amanda Todds like this. There have been so many Indian children also. It is not, don't think it's prevalent only in the Western countries. In India also, we've had a lot of cases of cyberbullying. So because of the connectivity, because of the low cost devices, because of the freedom given to the children, more and more children are using internet, and more issues like this are happening. And we as parents, as educators, as the system have definitely to control this. So going ahead, let's also talk about the health and hygiene issues. See, I'm covering issues briefly. After that, my session will be mostly focused on the preventions. Okay, so coming to the health and hygiene issues, there are psychological issues and physiological issues. So now imagine a child hunched up over the computer or a laptop or a smartphone for hours together and playing games. So what will be the result? The result will be back posture, backache, eye strain, headache. Okay. So all these things have physical impact on the child. The children get so immersed in technology that some overuse of any technology has psychological as well as physiological issues. In the psychological issues, when the children are so immersed in playing games, they want to beat the opponent, they want to go to that next level. So that creates a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, and they spend more time chatting with their online friends rather than with their family or face to face. They prefer online company to their even friends sometimes. They are less interested in relationships. The other thing is with social media, you know, it's a constant race. It's a constant competitions for the children above 13 to get as many likes. You know, X will come and say, I wore this new dress and I got so many likes. The other person will feel, oh my God, my likes have to be equal to him or her. So this creates a lot of tension. And then what happens that the virtual representation, of themselves as perfect for getting maximum likes and recognition takes hold. तो अपनी रियल लाइफ भूल के वो ये देखते हैं कि अपनी वर्चुअल लाइफ में कैसे दिखे और रियल लाइफ की वो परवाह नहीं करते. And another thing what is happening that in digital world screens change very fast and it's very stimulating. Okay, and it's very interesting and engaging. So they find it hard to interact with the real world because it may not be stimulating enough like virtual world. Okay, so these were the few psychological issues. Now coming to the physiological issues. The children want to continue to play the game at night. They have to go to the next level. They cannot be left behind. The friends are chatting, and if they don't chat at 2 o'clock at night, the friends will think that they are not cool, that they are geeks. So all these things pressurize the child to even talk at night when the parents are sleeping. So the do's and don'ts for the parents, I will talk later. And then the sedentary lifestyle. Games to hai nahi bahar. WHO guidelines say that a 12-14-year-old has to have 2 hours of brisk playing, like a cricket, like a kabaddi, like a kho-kho. वो तो बहुत जरूरी है. यहाँ पर क्या होता है कि you come back from the school, you are immersed in the games, you go back to tuitions, you come back from tuitions, sit and do your homework, then you're immersed in your games. So what is the physical exercise? If they don't do the physical exercise now, how will their muscles, etc., strengthen? Okay. Then the incorrect posture I talked about. That imagine a child crouched over the phone or the laptop or whatever, okay, for long period of time. So automatically क्या होगा? Backache होगा, eye strain होगा, है? और उनको और issues रहेंगे. Posture तो खराब हो गई, obesity होगी because physical exercise नहीं है. अगर obesity होगी तो खाना नहीं खाएंगे तो nutrition कैसे जाएगा अंदर? Study time reduce होगा और play time reduce होगा, and these are not good habits for future lifestyle. So apart from the online list, we have talked about the physiological and psychological issues. Now excess use of anything slowly leads to addiction, and I'm sure nobody wants any child around us. Okay, nobody wants any child around us to be addicted. We hear of substance abuse, and these days we have cases of children as young as about 9 years, 10 years being taken to NIMHANS in Bangalore or other places, these de-addiction centers, because they are addicted to online time. They are totally addicted. So this addiction slide, if we can go to, so excess use leads to image abuse, cyberbullying, and stranger danger. Okay, obviously, जितना time internet पे आप spend करोगे, उतने chances of you being victimized are more. जितना unsupervised time करोगे, उतने chances of being victimized increase. So, as I said, excess use leads to internet addiction, and the child would have to be taken to the de-addiction centers. So if there's anybody who doesn't leave the phone and has the following traits of FOMO, why do the children not leave the phone? The first fear is fear of missing out. We also call it FOMO. जैसे मैंने पहले बोला था कि बच्चों को लगता है कि मेरे फ्रेंड्स इस गेम में इस लेवल तक चले गए, या मेरे फ्रेंड्स रात को चैटिंग कर रहे हैं, या मेरे फ्रेंड के फादर ने नई गाड़ी ली है और उसने उसकी पिक्चर पोस्ट करी है, तो they don't want to be left behind for anything, and they pester their parents to buy the things which they can't afford, and then to keep up with the chatting and other things or gaming, then they are up at night. Then nomophobia. Nomophobia is when a person cannot leave the phone. you want to go to the toilet, to take the phone. You are eating, you use the you have the phone with you. For studying, you have the phone with you. So everywhere there's a compulsion that you can't be without your phone. The sense of security is not there if the phone is not there. If you see any child exhibiting these symptoms, then this is actually leading to addiction, or it is addiction. Then there is something called as phantom vibration syndrome. So हम जो चीज बहुत यूज करते हैं तो सबकॉन्शियसली हमारे दिमाग में तो वो रह जाता है. तो अगर हम सारा टाइम कनेक्टेड लाइफ और फोन की बात करें, so we are then actually imagining that the phone is ringing. Okay, it is message आया है, phone ring कर रहा है. You are somewhere, even in your sleep, you imagine the phone is ringing. This is phantom vibration syndrome, and we have seen it happening with a lot of people, especially the teenagers. So these are the few things, very few things, which you should keep in mind. If the child is exhibiting these kind of behaviors, then the child definitely needs help, and there are a lot of help centers. So now we've talked a lot about risks, challenges, and what not to do and all that. So how can we use the immense potential of internet for helping the children learn and grow, for making them capable citizens of 21st century? How can we actually maximize benefit and minimize risk? Okay, this is my next slide. How can we maximize benefits and minimize risk? So we will talk of that now, but I also want to take you to the case study. The case, just put on your thinking caps. So this is a scenario which I will share, and then if you can share your thoughts after it, we'll really appreciate. Rudra was a bright young student of class 8, performing well in studies, and an extrovert child, very friendly with all his peers and teachers. Since a few days, there was a change in his personality. Instead of playing, interacting with his friends, he would sit back in the classroom even during the recess time, and his grades started to drop. The teacher noticed it and tried to talk to him, but he did not want to share much, except that I'm fine. So he would just say, I am fine. Now, in your views, should the teacher just leave it at that? When the child says, I am fine, you can't do anything much, the teacher probably thinks, and then should she leave it at that, not wanting to intrude in his personal life, or should he or she try to pursue it further? Go to the root cause. कि भाई इतना बढ़िया बच्चा, पढ़ाई में इतना अच्छा, and very extrovert, how come the child is going into the shell? So please send your answers through the poll. Yes, why, for further investigation, and for not wanting to interfere. So look forward to your answers in the chat box. As a teacher, what will you do in this situation? Will you pursue it further? Then yes. If you don't want to interfere in the personal life of the child, then no. So let's have the answers.
Nisha ma'am, people are still polling, so we'll wait for 1 minute.
Okay, Veena ma'am, never very reliable. It's fine.
No, but these days it is.
No, it is because there are a lot of users online and the connectivity is very slow.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's fine. We'll work around that.
I'll just share the
Green again.
yeah, I'll share the result because I think so many of them has written on the chat also. So I think so 34% of them has 100% of them has said yes.
So 99.7% say that the teacher should investigate further, and 0.6% say no. Why this question was put? Also because sometimes the teacher has to tread, a very fine balance between interference and mentoring. Okay, because she has to look after the well-being of the child in the school, and the parents may or may not want her interference. But yes, considering the kind of responsibility a teacher has for the well-being of the students, I also go with the 99.7%. Okay, going to the next slide of maximizing benefits and minimizing risks. Okay, internet has huge potential, and we must use the opportunities very well, and we must help the children to maximize as much as they can from the internet. So who's going to help them? So they're going to be helped by schools, the educators, and also by the caregivers. They may be parents, they may be elder brothers, sisters, whosoever. So let's see how we can help these kids and get over these issues. So before that, we should reflect. So let us now do inward reflection. Are our children ready for the digital age? Okay. Do you think that they are aware of their digital rights and responsibilities? Okay. Are they aware of their digital rights and responsibilities? So have you at any time talked to them about their rights and responsibilities? A child will not go on the internet and find out the rights and responsibilities. Okay. Do you think they can choose consciously by making safe, smart, informed choices? Safe, smart when they don't make their privacy settings public. They don't share their personal details with everybody. Smart when they don't respond to bullying online. Okay. Informed choices when they critically analyze a situation, and then they plan that how they're going to actually respond to their situation. So are they making safe, smart, and informed choices? Are they following appropriate digital ethics and etiquettes? In our real life, we talk of ethics, etiquettes, we talk of values, we talk of ethics. Like even in the online world, we have to follow the same ethics and etiquettes. What happens? Sometimes you may not say harsh words to somebody on the face. Either you may be scared of them, or you don't have the strength, or you feel it's not right. But behind the screen, even a mouse becomes a lion. कि हम तो कुछ भी कर सकते हैं. That's a very ostrich-like approach. Can they recognize and manage online risks? If somebody is asking for their personal details, if somebody is bullying them, if somebody is blackmailing them, how to respond in those situations? Then do you think that they can become model digital citizens imbibing universal values? Why universal values? Because internet is global. Internet is not confined to a city, district, or a country. So when you are on the internet, your values have to be aligned to the global values. So think about it. Are our children ready for the digital age? And how will our children become ready? Not by leaving them alone, not by thinking that they are tech savvy and they can manage themselves, but by sitting and talking to them. And it is an effort to be made by the educators and the parents. So now more food for thought. Um, I want each one of you to now think about this slide and reflect in your mind. Have I explained to my students to my child about the dangers of online behavior? I will repeat it again because there is this black square coming in between. So have I explained my children, about the dangers of internet and advantages of safe and responsible behavior? Have I had a talk with my child? Be very truthful about it, because we cannot always be perfect. We as educators and parents are always learning. We were not digital natives. We were not born in this digital world. We are learning along with the children. We are digital migrants, and the children are digital natives. So that's how they are ahead of us. But children need our guidance. Okay. It's very interesting. It is mixed response. I think there would be, yes, 83% have said yes, and 16.9, 17% have said no. Okay, congratulations to the ones who have said yes. But maybe you again need to go back and reflect on that previous slide. Okay, once again, and those who haven't, doesn't matter, we are always learning. So you must go back and you must have a talk with the child. My next slide will bring home this point more clearly. Over to the next slide, please. Teaching safe and responsible behavior. Abhi bataiye, when we take our young children on the road, we talk them about road safety, the zebra crossing, the traffic signals. Don't we do that? We don't just let them run around the road. Why we don't do that? Because they'll get hurt. They'll get into an accident. They'll get run over by some vehicle. So we take care of them and we explain to them why should they walk on the left and why should they walk on the pavement, why they can't walk in the middle of the road. Okay, because you care for them. Right? Similarly, when your 6-year-old, 7-year-old, 4-year-old has got a new bicycle, do we just give them the bicycle and tell them now be on your own? You're a smart child, you will learn on your own? No. We hold them. Till such time they have got the balance. We hold them, we run after them. We don't leave them. Till such time we are 100% confident that they can manage. Even then, do we leave them on the road? No. They're supposed to cycle in front of the house based on their age. First in the yard, okay, inside the gate of the house, and then in the complex of the society. You cannot go out because you are not that old. We have these kind of limitations. And then when they are older, they understand the rules of the road. Then we let them go out a little and do a bit of shopping for us. When they are teenagers, then we might actually, if the school is not far, then we might approve. Okay, fine. We might permit them to go cycling to the school. Why do we do that? Because they are actually using a new technology. The cycle is also a technology. And they have to learn to manage the cycle. Similarly, when we give connected device in the hands of the children, we must sit with them. We must explain the pros and cons with them. We must tell them the risks of internet, the potential of internet, and why they cannot go to certain sites, why certain words are banned for them, why certain platforms are banned for them. We have to explain it to them. When they get older, as they get older, then these locks will get open and then they can explore the internet more and more. Why as parents, we can go to certain sites or we can watch a certain program on the TV, they cannot. If we tell them, no, you can't, that's not, then behind your back, they will do it because they're curious. Why am I being stopped? But if we do logical reasoning with them, if we sit with them, then these kind of things won't happen. Then you are treating them as mini adults, as reasonable young people. So the crux is, kabhi bhi connected device, जैसे phone दिया connected, laptop दिया, अब virtual learning कर रहे हैं. उसमें we have to tell them not to venture from the classroom complex which is there to the other sites. We have to explain to them why not. So once we reason out to them, then again we don't leave them. If my child is bicycling for the first time, I will still look from my window and see till such time I am 100% confident. Similarly, over here, you have to look over the child's shoulder. You have to look into the history. You have to sit and explain to the child. And this has to go on and on. Okay. Now I come to the very important slide, that is the 3 C's of internet usage. Okay, these 3 C's are actually very, very important. The contact. Kisse contact kar rahe ho? Whom are you contacting? Why are you contacting? Are you contacting strangers? So the first thing you have to talk to your children is, you have to tell them with whom are you contacting is very, very important. Okay, with whom are you sharing the information? Are you sharing your photos with somebody you don't know so well? Okay. Somebody you in the park is asking for your photos, would you share? You won't. Or some stranger is connecting with you and asking you to be friends. And I have explained to them why should a stranger, so many years older than the child, should want to be friendly with the child. It has to be an ulterior motive. So why is the child sharing? So first is contact. किसके साथ बच्चा contact कर रहा है, किसके साथ बात कर रहा है. दूसरा है content. What is being shared? Okay. So if the child is sharing the project or assignment or something to do with the classroom learning with the peers, fantastic, fine. But you have to see that is the child sharing some personal photos? आजकल तो with phone has तीन कैमरा है फोन में, और selfie is a fad. You bought a new dress, you have to have selfie. There is something new, you have to have a selfie. You're going to restaurant, you have to have a selfie and share. And do the children like to share selfie when they are in their pajamas or when they are having simple dal chawal? So it is like I said earlier, it's a psychological thing also. ये show off का जमाना है. Everybody wants to show off. Everybody wants to get more likes. I'm better than you. So in that process, they don't realize what kind of footprints they are leaving and what all that they are sharing. So are they sharing personal photos? Are they sharing personal information? And this applies not only to the children, it is also with the adults. What we do when we want to get a certain app, we want to download an app, a gaming app or an app for drinking water or app for counting steps. I mean, there are plethora of apps. We are so excited that we want that app right now. And the app requires certain information from you. So if it is an app which measures the steps which you walk, why does the app need your photo, contact details? Why does the app need all those things? But we don't see that those things are optional. In any time anybody is downloading the app, then there are those red stars, asterisk columns, which are actually mandatory. Otherwise, the ones which don't have the asterisk, you don't have to fill. See, information is power. Information is the new oil, that they say. So these app organizations who create this app, they collect as much as information from you, and they sell this information or they misuse this information. The other content is privacy setting. Okay, what happens that we are on social media and we don't even check what are the privacy settings. Obviously, the social media platforms will always want to get as much as information from you, which they can share with the sellers, okay, with other organizations and make money. But then it's optional. They're not pulling you to, I mean, they're not pressurizing you to share the information. A Facebook doesn't need your home address. A Facebook doesn't need your phone number. It is optional. They say for security reasons, if you want to share, but then we share. So what happens on the Facebook? We have posted our details, personal details, our house details. Then we like to post about the children, about everything. If you are going on holiday, then there is this address where you have posted your address. And then if you're going on holiday, obviously show off का जमाना है. Again I'm saying, एयरपोर्ट पे बैठे हैं, स्टेशन पे बैठे हैं, तो वो एक सेल्फी लेंगे, going to Bahamas with my family and going to have a good time for 10 days. And what are we doing? We have shared our house details over there. So what's going to happen? Obviously, when these people come back, there are chances of the house being burgled, house being robbed. वो पुरानी बात का क्या हुआ जब हमारी मम्मी दादी कहा करती थी कि आप बच्चे शाम को घर से बाहर जा रहे हैं, एक बत्ती जरूर जला के जाना और put a towel outside so that nobody knows, like so that people don't know that there is nobody home. Now that was some security measure. But आजकल हम क्या कर रहे हैं? We give our personal details and then we post on the internet because we have to show. So this is content which what we do, children. Then again about the content, the feelings. Sometimes what happens, the children have had a fight with their friends, the teacher has scolded them, the parents have scolded them. So in an emotional state of mind, they post. And what happens is that after 2 days, they may realize that it was not right to post. Okay, जब उस दोस्त से सुलह हो गई and later you realize that your parents were scolding you for some reason. So you go back and you delete the post and you're happy about it. But that's an ostrich-like approach. You may have deleted it from your timeline, but by then, because of the nature of internet, it would have got viral, it would have posted and reposted and reposted. So when you're feeling too happy, too sad, too emotional, not to post. Hurtful. Hurtful is another thing that am I posting something which can hurt somebody, which can harm somebody? Or am I sitting behind the anonymity of the screen and posting thinking that मैं तो शेरू मेरे को तो कुछ नहीं होगा और फेस टू फेस मैं नहीं कर सकती वो पोस्ट मैं किसी की लाइफ पर बात कर रही हूँ तो hurtful mean bullying nature posts are not to be posted. Then the another one is fake. A lot of times most of us most of the time fall prey to fake news. How do we fall prey to fake news? We get a message from WhatsApp about COVID-19 में ये बहुत था कि eat this, इसका यूरिन ले लो, वो ले लो, and then this is it, and then without actually critically analyzing that the post that we have got, is it, I mean, can it be true? And there are means of verifying it on the internet also. We just forward. We just read it a little, we forward, because ज्ञानी बाबा तो हम सभी बनना चाहते हैं. So then what has happened? By getting the post and believing in the post, we become victims of fake news. And when we post it and forward it, we are the perpetrators of fake news. And we've seen incidents of fake news where the people have been lynched in the country. So content is very important, what you post besides the content. Now, the third thing, which is third C, is conduct. Okay, on internet, we have to be safe, we have to be ethical, lawful, and kind, like we are in a real, regular world. In a real, regular world, we don't do things which will harm us. We stay away from those things and situations. In a regular life, we don't do anything which is unethical, which is immoral. Then why on the internet? And a lot of times unlawful things are done also because the children don't understand what is legal and what is illegal. Sometimes even the adults don't understand what is legal and what is illegal. So the adults need to go back. They need to understand various laws. India has the best cyber laws in the world, one of the best. Okay, so there are a lot of cyber laws which deal with stalking, bullying, impersonation. All these are unlawful activities. So go back and on cybercrime.gov.in, a lot of details are there, and read the laws so that tomorrow, if God forbid your child or your student is undergoing some issue, then you should be able to understand, okay, where do I have to report? I will talk of that a little later as well. So content, and conduct. These are the 3 C's of internet usage. You have to understand it as a caregiver, and when you go back, please sit with your children, have these kind of discussions in the classroom. हमारी इंडियन सोसाइटी ऐसी क्यों है कि जिस दिन सेक्स एजुकेशन वाला टॉपिक होता है बायो में, टीचर एब्सेंट हो जाती है. ये होता है अभी भी काफी जगह, क्योंकि हम वो इशू को ब्रोच ही नहीं करना चाहते. So let's take the bull by the horns and let's sit down and educate and have talk with the children. Schools can have one period dedicated in a week. एक moral science का period होता था, तो वो moral science का period value की turn it into value based classes where you talk of ethical, lawful conduct both in the online and the offline space. So the 3 C's of internet usage. Remember. Fine. Now we come to digital footprint. Now this is important because I see very often children without understanding posting, liking something. Okay, but it happens with the adult as well. हम लोग कुछ लाइक कर देते हैं, कुछ पोस्ट कर देते हैं, हम उसके रिपरकशन सोचते नहीं हैं. ये जो डिजिटल ट्रेल है, these digital footprints are not on sand of time which will get erased by the water. These footprints are on concrete and they will follow you forever. And these footprints actually show your personality what it is, which you may be not. Like I have posted something when I was feeling not feeling good, feeling emotional, or feeling angry, or in whatever state, mental state. Okay, मेरे timeline से तो मैंने निकाल दिया. But what happens? It goes, internet, everything goes round and comes back to haunt you maybe after 2 months, maybe after 1 year, maybe after 4 years. So we have to explain to the children to keep their digital footprints very, very clean. Can we have the video over here, ma'am? Okay, so while the video is getting ready, I'll give you an example. A couple of years back, there was a very bright, academically bright student in US who had got admission in MIT. Now, getting admission in MIT is the ultimate dream for anybody. Okay, सब कुछ हो गया, and then when final formalities were to be done, he got the letter saying that he's not being accepted. Okay, his admission is being rejected. On what grounds? Because they checked his social media account, and then they felt that he has been into very objectionable situations. He has posted inflammatory posts, against certain races and all that. So who wants trouble? Nobody wants trouble. So his admission was rejected. And the girls, young girls, come to us, marriageable age. Ma'am, I was friendly with a boy, and then we had posted some pictures, and then वो अभी मेरी तो कहीं और बात चल रही है शादी की. So, but I want those pictures totally removed from the net. मैंने अपने प्रोफाइल से तो हटा दिया है, पर वो मेरे फॉर्मर बॉयफ्रेंड की प्रोफाइल से कैसे हटेगी, या मैं कैसे इंश्योर करूं वो नेट से हटेगी? मैडम, वो नहीं हटेगी. They are there forever. You should have thought before posting. They can come and hound you even later. So your footprints are very, very important. Keep your footprints clean, keep your footprints respectful and enabling. So can we run the video, please?
Your digital footprint. What is a digital footprint? We're used to looking at all kinds of information on the internet, but the internet, it seems, is looking back at us.
I hope you can hear
When
the
we
voice.
visit websites to get information, do social sharing, send instant messages and email, we leave something behind. Our digital footprints are the traces we leave behind as we use the internet. Digital footprints have both benefits and costs. For instance, they may offer convenience by saving you time logging in or retyping your personal details. The trade-offs, well, that's what the Internet Society's digital footprint tutorials are about. Most of us realize that when we consciously share information on social media or upload pictures, we lose some degree of privacy. But we are less likely to think about the footprints we create by default, simply by searching the web, shopping online, or enabling location services. And as the saying goes, out of sight, out of mind. It's hard to manage something you've never seen. It's not uncommon for people to say, I have nothing to hide, so why should I care about my digital footprints? There are many reasons, some of which we'll explore in a moment. But the simplest one is this. Your digital footprints reveal a lot about you. They build up into a detailed picture of your likes and habits, and that information has commercial value. Our digital footprints are monetized by organizations with which we have no relationship and which we can't control. Few internet users realize how intimate their digital footprints are, or how commonly the resulting data is shared by third parties. One online security company has identified more than 200 third-party advertisers and 630 tracking technologies collecting individuals' data on the web. Are you logged into Facebook, Twitter, or Google right now? If so, they're tracking your visits to any web page with a like, tweet, or +1 button, whether or not you click on that button. Every site you visit gives them more information to store and commercialize. There's an implicit bargain there, but who's getting the best of it? Now let's look at some of the other reasons your digital footprints matter.
Okay, fine, ma'am, we'll proceed. We'll proceed to the next slide. So basically, this has reinforced what I was saying, that your digital footprints have to be clean, have to be respectful, and don't have to be questioning. Now we come to how school can support the children to stay safe. A child stays in the school for 6 to 7 hours a day. Okay, not now because of the COVID, but still school is influencing by the virtual classrooms. So school has a huge role to play in actually enabling the thinking of the child towards the safety and responsibility act. So the schools have to have rules for using personal devices. A lot of schools use connected devices for learning, and internet is enabling, so that's fine. But the personal devices, should they be brought from home? How, and whether the children can use their private apps or not. So school has to have policies on the use of personal devices. The other is having conversations with the children. So a module on digital citizenship is essential. So what happens that you teach them with examples and you continue to reinforce in their minds that like they have to be ethical and responsible in their real life, they have to be the same in their virtual life. So the children realize that that is the way to go, because their children are very quick learners. Then another thing is IT club support group. So what happens is that if a child is in trouble, the last person the child will go to is parents, and the second last person the child will go to is teacher. Normally what they do, they discuss among the peers, and the peers are equally knowledgeable or lack of knowledge as them, so it doesn't solve the situation. So if there is an IT club or a support group which will definitely send enabling messages, etc., enabling activities to the students, in case the child is in trouble, then he or she can go to the senior students. They would prefer to go. Otherwise, they are likely to keep the issue to themselves. So this IT club can be a support group. This IT club can actually organize such discussions, debates, activities, which are enabling in nature about the internet usage. Then the computer lab. The computer teacher has a huge role to play. So what happens is a class 11, 12 comes, and obviously their access is higher, and then a class 6 comes. So what happens is sometimes those channels or those platforms which are class 11, 12 accesses are inadvertently open to a younger child, which may not be age appropriate. So age appropriate content is very important. The other is hygiene test of the machines. What is hygiene test is that sometimes a senior class is in the computer lab, and just out of mischief, out of fun, those children may leave something objectionable messages or pictures for the younger ones to see. कि देखते क्या होता है, चलो मजा करते हैं. So after every class, the computer teacher has to quickly make a round and whatever and look at the hygiene of the machine. Then reporting and helpline mechanisms, computer teacher, the school counselor, the principal should know. And definitely this reporting and helpline would be with the help of the parents. But the parents may not be as knowledgeable. So it's the school's, if the child has got into some issue in the school premises, it is the school's responsibility to take care of them. So reporting and helpline ke liye, so you should have a chart in the computer lab itself or in the principal's room that these are the helplines and these are the support groups. Sensitization and involvement of counselor is there because these issues have to be dealt with very sensitively. And definitely one cannot do without the involvement of the parents. Even if the parents are not as knowledgeable, the parent involvement and their concurrence has to be there. Thus, the school needs to empower, educate, and support. And I have put in the bracket, think before punishing and penalize. Okay, sometimes punishments are needed, but we have to understand why the child did it. We have to logically reason with the child, and we have to make it an example for the others as well. Now, going to the next slide of virtual learning. So, the learning must never stop. So, there are 1.8 billion children in the world who are not attending schools these days. Okay, altogether there are more than 3 billion adults who are in the lockdown or the semi-lockdown mode, and out of them 1.8 billion children. And then a large number are in India. So, they are not attending the school, and then currently there is no surety of when the schools will be open. So we can't have the learning stop. So the schools, the government, the organizations have taken on this responsibility, and which is very commendable, to conduct online learning. But online learning, it is the school, the teachers have to ensure the safety of the child in that learning room, wherever the online learning takes place. So the school or the teacher should use safe and recommended platforms and not any. Even if, like, for example, there was, an advisory about Zoom, that Zoom can be used, but then these are the do's and don'ts that you can follow. So be abreast of all this news which is coming. Then passwords. You cannot post the passwords on the social media and or somewhere. I'm conducting a class for class 6 and this is the user ID and this is the password. It may be WebEx, it may be any platform. So what happens? The troublemonger, the perpetrators, अरे उनके लिए तो sitting duck है ये young बच्चे, so they will also join. So I hope most of the educators are following that. Password should be sent a little time before the class and they should be texted separately or in the group for that particular class. You cannot post passwords and make them public on social media. Another thing is inform and involve the parents. It is very important because what might happen that the child has logged on the laptop of parents saying that I have a class to attend, and parallelly the child has logged his or her attendance in that room, and parallelly there are other windows open and the child is browsing wherever on the internet, or there is no class and the child is using the parents' laptop. So the schedule of the class and has to be shared with the parents, and the parents also have to see that in between that, okay, is the child really inside that virtual room or the child is navigating the world wide web and doing whatever he or she should not be doing. Okay, the other thing is platform bombing, and I'll talk of it a little later. Then updated software. It's very important to have the updated software of these platforms, because what happens, because of certain issues which come from the ground, they quickly patch up those issues with some new software. And right now, all these softwares have got a lot of patches, and we must have the updated software. So when you open your particular app and it says that updated software is available, don't be in a hurry and say no. Look at it. Look at what is available. Look at what version that you have, and then you update that software. Then another issue which we have found, the parents are asking. Your parents are being asked to download a lot of apps. So a lot of apps for drawing, designing, quizzes, and all that, and they're not sure whether those apps are safe, whether they are stealing the data, whether the apps contain malware, whether the apps themselves are malicious software. So the apps which you recommend for a child to use should be trusted. Go to the Play Store and see the review of the app, and then check out what have been the users of what kind of users are on that app, and only then recommend to the child. Otherwise, otherwise we are suggesting unsafe places for the child to go to. And mark attendance and participation throughout the session. It should not be attendance laga di, and I said earlier, अब वो तो world wide web में अपना घूम रहा है. So the student learning in virtual space is your responsibility. This is for the educators and this is for the school. But it's not that parents don't have any responsibility. The parents have to connect with the school. The parents have to see the schedule. The parents have to see that the children are learning online and not just passing the time in unknown spaces. Okay, then we go to the family. Family, of course, plays a very important part. Okay, and सबसे पहले, before anything, parents are role models. If I, as a parent, if I'm binging on Netflix, if I'm binging late night, then what kind of role model I am? If I'm on the dining table using my phone, that I have to take this call, my boss called or my sister called or whosoever, then what kind of example we are setting? जितना मेरा boss मेरे लिए important है, उतना वो बच्चे का friend उसके लिए important है जो उसको उस time call कर रहा है, उसके लिए वो critical है. So we have to be exemplars to the children. If we tell the children not to use technology at certain times, we first have to demonstrate. Privacy settings. Like I said, that a lot of the social media apps, social media platforms, they by default everything is open to public. Okay, what happens is that the child posts, then it might be just open to the public. So you sit with the child, make those settings age appropriate. There is an option on the right hand side on top in the inverted triangle. You set the privacy settings with the child. Don't do it on your own. When you're setting, make him or her, even if the child is 6 years old or 10 years old, and explain the logical reason why the privacy setting. Like, we don't let you go to the mall alone, we don't let you go to another city by yourself because it's not safe. Similarly, in the online world, there are some places which are not safe. Trust and openness is very important. Like I said, when the children get connected devices, sit with them, explain to them, and be reasonable. Okay, reason with them on why they cannot use certain settings. And very important is tech-free zones and times. Like I said, that parents have to be the role models. Okay, on dining table, no technology. No technology after 10. No connected technology definitely after the bedtime, because otherwise the child will take out the phone and start playing. हम लोग ही खेलना शुरू कर देंगे. So the tech-free zones and tech-free time is important. The family time is very important. Bedrooms, no technology. Dining room, no technology. When family is bonding, no technology. Cyber hygiene sessions are very important, and continue to have those sessions about do's and don'ts with the children. And coming to the school rules, are very important. If the school says no personal devices, then no personal devices. If you are encouraging your child to sneak the phone in and keep it on silent or keep it on off, then what kind of morals, values are we giving to a child? जब हम उनको गलत करना सिखाते हैं और जब वो गलत करते हैं तो हमें बहुत बुरा लगता है, हम उन पे नाराज हो जाते हैं, we punish them. Again, role models, exemplars. Laws and reporting. Parents have to understand the laws, the reporting. Like I said, educators have to do earlier. They should know what is legal, what is illegal, where they can report. I'll touch upon reporting also. And avoid sharenting. Okay, sharenting गलती से उसमें sharpening है, वो typo है. Sorry about that. So sharenting is when parents share stuff about their children. The child is roaming around in diapers, so beautiful bumpy photo ले ली. The child is having bath, तो अच्छा the child is looking cute, वो ले लिया. या फिर बच्चे ने funny face बनाया, वो ले लिया. And then posting all these things on the internet. Okay, so what happens? You're also leaving a trail for the children, and how embarrassed they will be after so many years when they see their photo with that bum which looked cute earlier, which will be a huge embarrassing moment for the children. So stop sharenting. And in US, there have been 2 cases recently where one 17-year-old and one 21-year-old, they sued their parents because they said that our social media presence is very embarrassing. Filter inappropriate content. So there are parental controls. I'll quickly name a few because of paucity of time. So there is a Net Nanny, which is on both desktop and mobile, which filters the objectionable word, like for example, sex or something you want to filter. So it does that. Okay, then there is YouTube for kids. So why should children be on the regular YouTube? Because YouTube has all kind of videos for all kind of ages. So if your child wants to search the videos, use YouTube for kids. Then there are browsers. Why should you child search Bing or Google just like we do? They are not adults, so they should do Google Safe Search. Or they should go on browsers like Kiddle and MobiCop and Custido for filtering information. So when you can Google these online, and they will be plenty, but download only which are recommended, download only which have good reviews. Nahi to pata chala ki you downloaded something which is taking all the data, which is causing more harm than good. So for the parents, it's very important that you instill confidence and not fear so that the child can come to you. So the next slide is a simple slide, but looks simple, but is actually profound. Stop, think, and go. Okay. So as we cross the street, we just don't go headlong into the street. We stop. If we are driving, if we are cycling, or if we are just crossing the road, we look at the signal. And then if it stays red, we stop. And then yellow, we get ready, and green, we go. Similarly, internet is the same. Navigating the highway and the back lanes of internet is actually the same thing, if not even more dangerous. So whenever you are posting something or your child is posting something, you have to sensitize them to this side. So they should stop. Am I posting? Is it mean? Is it hurtful? Is it required? Is it harmful? Okay. What kind of impact it will have on me? Do I really need to post it? So the 3 C's come into play. So the child thinks that, child is in the yellow mode, reflective mode, thinking mode, that what kind of, repercussions it will have on me. But if the child has thought through, and then if the child is feeling confident, no, it actually matches all my parameters, it takes all the good behavior, then internet is a wonderful place to go. So stop, think and go. Red, yellow and green. So this was my presentation. I look forward to the questions. I also want to share with you that I am associated with the Cyber Peace Foundation. It is the first non-profit organization which is working towards creating the cyberspace very enabling and safe for the younger people. And the vision and mission is to promote peaceful, responsible and inclusive cyberspace. And we conduct workshops, we do research, we develop content, we do policy advocacy, and we actually empower the whole ecosystem so that the children are safe. The children cannot be safe with the help of parents and teachers. Even the law enforcement agencies have to be trained. The policies have to be very enabling. So we work towards all that. And keeping this vision in mind, we have come out with online safety guideline handbook. And this was developed with the help of CBSE. And it has been released by Honorable HRD Minister. So this handbook is a very interesting, colorful, engaging handbook, and it is for the students. And the students from class 8, 9 onwards can use. We will also be coming out with handbook for the teachers and for the smaller students based on the feedback that we get. And we will share with you the link of the handbook. It's available in soft copy both. And going ahead with the vision of promoting safety, we are going to launch eRaksha 2020 contest for the students and teachers. In 2019, we had launched launched the eRaksha contest, and then we got fantastic response across the country. The beauty of this contest is it is not gyan. It is not workshop. We are not telling children what to do. We tell the children that put on your thinking cap and think about internet. What would you want to do? What would you want others to do to you? How do you think you can keep yourself safe online? So, and whatever you think, put it in the form of poster, video, nukkad natak, in all creative forms. So we have got fantastic response the last time, and we will be launching it next week. And now coming to another small part is call for help is the reporting part, which I had told you I'll cover. So there are 3 kinds of reporting: social reporting, platform reporting, and legal reporting. So social reporting is when the child is, let's say, getting bullied. Okay, take an example. So the child reports to the parents, the teachers, or the counselor. They take care of it, or the community. So this is social reporting. Every time the child has issues, first step is always the social reporting. The second is platform reporting. Do you know if any inappropriate picture of mine is put on any of the social media accounts? And I can always report against it. Or if I'm bullied, I can always report on the social media platforms, and it is mandated they reply within 24 hours. If somebody has impersonated my account, I'm not able to access the account because the password has been changed, we can immediately do platform reporting. The other reporting is legal and formal reporting. So government has cybercrime.gov.in portal where you can make your complaints. There is also a provision for women and girls to make anonymous complaints. They are very, very responsive. You can also understand the laws over there. There are cyber safety cells in each of the districts. You can make complaint over there, any financial embezzlement related to online or connected world. So social, platform, and legal are the 3 kinds of reporting. And you can go to cyber safety cells. Then there are organizations like Childline, Helpline, and NIMHANS you can go to. Our Cyber Peace Foundation also has a helpline, and there is a number which can be shared again later. And definitely for a formal complaint, we go to the Government of India portal, cybercrime.gov.in. So this was my presentation. I have tried to share as much as I can, despite the fact I was conscious that I should not do information overload. But this topic is so vast and so critical that you feel you want to give maximum to the audience so that they go back enriched and they help the children more and more. We look forward to your questions now, and to ask. Don't think any question may be irrelevant or whatever. Every question is important because the question that you ask may the other may be thinking of it. It may help somebody else also, or it may help us. It may help me. If you ask some question I don't know, then I'll go and find out more about it. So I'll
Yeah.
ask my co-host to start sharing the questions with me.
Uh, Thank you, Nisha ma'am. Thank you so much. I would also like to tell my audience here that she was one of my first EdTech guru. I have worked with her, and it was by chance that after 13 years we have again, been together today. So thank you so much, Nisha ma'am, for this insight.
Thank you.
And,
Thank you for inviting me, actually, Miss Veena.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
So here, the biggest takeaway that we have taken from your slide is stop, think, and go. This is very, very important, which will save us from many things for the cyber bully that we are undergoing with our even with our students, with our children. We should always have a session about stop, think, and go before we log anything, before we go for any app, or we post anything online. So this is the biggest thing that you have told us, and also about the Kindle, browsers that we have. I'm sure many of us are not aware of it, that we have some special browsers, YouTube channels for kids. So these are some of the things, small things will be which will take us along a very long way in cyber safety. So ma'am, there are some questions which our audience has also posted. So first of all, they are all saying me thank you, and it was a very enriching session that we had. The first question that I want to take here is that how do we educate more to the parents? Because when we are talking about primary students or pre-primary students, so it is about the parent first. So how do we educate our parents? Should we take a special session with them, or what should we do?
Okay, yes, definitely parents have the equal responsibility as the educators. And I said that parents are digital migrants. They were not born into the technology connected world. So what we normally do is that getting parents together sometimes is challenging because they have the different professional, the work timings. So on a PTA day, the schools often have the session going, like half an hour capsules going. So on the PTA day, when the parents come to collect the report cards, then they can attend these sessions. They can be half an hour, 45 minutes capsule sessions going on. So every PTA, you the online safety sessions, and that is one. The second is that keep on sending the messages, because every class, every school has groups. So do keep on sending engaging messages, informative messages to the parents, flyers, pamphlet, ebooks, or whatever. And then we also are developing, in fact, with NCERT, I'm developing guideline for the parents. So the guideline booklet or the booklet which CyberPeace released just 2 days back. So the e-copy of that booklet, you can give the link to the parents so they also have access to that kind of information.
So ma'am, thank you so much for answering this. The second question that we have is that, is it safe to share our face or coming in the videos when we are taking online lectures or doing some activity, especially for our primary sections? We have to use our bodies, our fingers, our arms. So is it, how safe it is? So because of this, there are many cases of bullying also coming here. So how can we?
Ma'am, you'll have to go a little slow because I couldn't catch most of what you were saying.
Okay. So the question is that how safe it is to show our face or coming in the video while delivering lectures or showing activity in online classrooms?
Okay, see, it's like this, that when you are taking online classes, you are in an enclosed group. Like I said, that virtual classes, a teacher has much more responsibility in a virtual classroom than in the real classroom, because in the real classroom, there are other stakeholders in the school, the caretakers, who help you. कि बच्चा स्कूल से भाग ना जाए, बच्चा दूसरी क्लास में ना चला जाए, so many other things. The children are not fighting. Online, you are the only one who's in charge. So first you have to follow that it should be a closed room and nobody else should have access to it. I had not talked of Zoom bombing earlier because I had thought we'll discuss it a little later. So what happens is that if your password is public, then anybody can enter the room, and there have been chances of bombing. What is bombing is when some mischief maker posts very inappropriate photos while the class is going on. So I diverted a little from the question, but this was an information I wanted to share. So it is not unsafe to show your picture during the classroom, because if your classroom is in an enclosed space, if you're on a safe platform, then if password is not available to everybody, then it is fine.
Okay.
Yes.
So the next question that we have is, what are the age appropriate awareness we can create, especially with our primary students? So how do we create this awareness?
See, we need to follow, number one, the guidelines set by WHO on the screen use. That they have guidelines that till 2 years, till 2 years, no screen time. From 2 to 5 years, this much screen time with at least 8 to 10 inch distances. And then after that, apart from the technology part of it, the safety part comes. So definitely we talked of safe browsers, we talked of filters. So parents do have to install that, because a 6-year-old who's browsing online may go to inappropriate site inadvertently. She may not be wanting to. YouTube video है तो YouTube video में किसी type का भी कुछ भी दिखाया जा सकता है. Okay, so that's why I said that you have to go to the YouTube children video, you have to go on Google Safe Search. So if they are in those kind of domains, then chances of them getting into issues is not there so much.
Another thing, ma'am, they are talking about is, which is the safest video conferencing app or software that they should use? Any idea or any examples that you can give?
Sorry, ma'am, please be louder.
Which is the best and the safest video conferencing app?
Okay,
or the
okay,
software?
Yeah. Okay, see, there is nothing which is 100% safe. When we go out of our homes, I'm just giving an analogy. When we go out of our homes, we don't know if we are very safe. If we are walking on the pavement, somebody may run us over. So there is nothing called as foolproof or 100% safety. Similarly, in the online world, there is nothing ever safe, because the smarter the creators of the apps are, the even smartest are the hackers. हम अपने घर में ताला लगा के जाते हैं, and then we find that the house is broken, and then we put a bigger lock, and then so what happens? The hackers and the thieves and the mischief mongers are always a step ahead. So there is nothing called as total safety. It is the platforms are meant to be used safely. If you follow the precautions and advisories by the platform or laid by the government, then definitely you will be in a more safe position.
Okay. Another question, ma'am, that we have here by our audience is that cyber crimes are happening. Lot of awareness campaigns are also going on, but still, there are many, kids who are stuck into such practices. So can you suggest some remedies about this, for this problem of cyber crimes?
See, this is not a end-to-end. There is no end-to-end solution to it. Okay, and this is a very uncharted space where there is no single law governing it. It's not an India or US or any single law governing it. So it's a global uncharted space. So it is up to you how safe you can be. The children venture, so don't let them venture into the unknown or the dark spaces. If you don't let them venture into the unknown dark spaces, then if they're on safe platforms, then nothing can happen to them. If you have inculcated the sense in them to be ethical and not to connect with the strangers and not to share their information or keep their privacy settings private, then the chances of them getting into harmful situations becomes a lot less. So by creating awareness, basically mentoring the children, and also continuous monitoring of the children, even if they are 16 years old, till such time they are adults, it's very, very important. We can't say that now they are 15, 16-year-olds, they are on their own. They're still kids. They can't think and behave like adults. If they come across any unobjectionable content or situation, they don't know how to handle that. So
ma'am,
follow the
last.
safety norms and continue to sensitize them.
Okay, so ma'am, the last question for the day is that since during the COVID time we have experienced online teaching, and at home also our children are using a lot of online sites, which we will be taking some of the tips that you have given to us, and we will be implementing with our students and our children. But what do you think that should we put this as a curriculum also for all the classes across about cyber safety? Is it a need? Whether IT department should do it or all subject teachers should talk about it?
See, first of all, I would like to share that NCRT, if you go on NCRT site, NCRT has come up with very good guidelines. Go on their CIET, Central Institute of Education Technology department page, and you will find that you don't have to reinvent things. Those are already existing. In fact, I'm working with NCRT to create a curriculum for the teachers as well. They have the curriculums for the students. So there is already material there, refer to that material. And if you think that you need some customized material because the needs of your school are different, okay, then you can either get some cyber safety experts, sit with school counselors, sit with school teachers and develop the material. There are also books available online, but I would say that the material should be contextual, the material should be customized to the needs. We cannot take the material with the messages which is applicable to the other countries because our needs are so much different. So yes, digital learning, digital citizenship modules are very much needed. As I said earlier, they should be the part of the curriculum. IT teacher can be part of the discussions because she'll come with the technology know-how, counselor will come with the behavioral know-how, and experts will generally tell you about the crimes, etc., which are being committed. So you have expertise, everybody's expertise to develop a robust curriculum. And curriculum, yes, is the need of the hour. Why don't you go through the guidelines, which the guideline document which I shared, and just search online CBSE Cyber Peace Foundation guideline release. The soft copy is available on all the platforms.
So Nisha ma'am, what we will do, the site you shared with us, we will upload it on our Facebook page, and I believe everyone will be able to take guidance and then help from there. And your video will also be there, so we'll post that link over there. They'll be able to download the material from there, right?
So I will share with you the link for the this booklet, cyber safety booklet, as well as the e-Raksha contest.
Sure.
And the e-Raksha contest is a beautiful contest where we ask the children to think, to reflect, and then come out with their solutions. In fact, Veena ma'am, we learned so much after the last e-Raksha content. We learned the psyche, the way the child thinks, and then we actually, tailored our narrative after that according to that.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am, for your enriching sessions. And I think so many of our audience have written so many tips they are sharing with me. And after the session also, when we log out from the meeting, I get some messages that a lot of information that you have shared with us. Small tips will take us long way and will keep us safe, our children safe. We are parents, we are teachers. Please enforce cybersecurity. It's a need of the hour. Also talk about it openly. It's also one of the things, not only for the IT department, but for all the education department that we have in our schools. Thank you so much, audience. And please keep posting your feedbacks into our Facebook page, and see you soon into our next webinar. And have a great day.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the patient listening, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Nisha.